You lived through the January 6th insurrection. What do you make of this report? Is it going to change anything? Because that threat you faced on the 6th, it's just as real today.
No, and I can't say it better than General Honore just did. I would put one clarification on what he said, and we thank him for his extraordinary work, which has really helped us secure the Capitol in the interim. But, it's not those people in Washington. It's one political party in Washington. The fact is, we have for some time passed out of the House the legislation that would create an independent commission that would answer all of these questions that you're raising. I think what you're seeing in the discussion this morning is the inchoate nature of our understanding. We have some information, we have facts in dispute, we've got folks whose careers and livelihoods are on the line. It's unfair to all involved to go off with partial information and try to draw conclusions. That's why you do a full, fair, independent, nonpartisan investigation. That's what we need. And it will answer these questions and allow us to make the changes we need to make the Capitol safe. So when school kids come down, their parents don't have to worry whether it's okay or not, so that the people's house can stay open and safe and we can do our country's business. We need the facts.
That is one of the reasons why you have called for the end of the filibuster. Many more people have since the attack on the Capitol, because we just want to get to the bottom of this. Joe Manchin is making another argument saying if we end the filibuster, Congressman, it's going to turn on us as soon as Republicans have power. And given how narrow things are, what do you think of Manchin's argument about the filibuster?
Well, I respect the differing views on this, but here's the deal. The deal is that we should not be afraid of accountability to the voters. The point is that if the Senate does the wrong thing, the check on that is supposed to be the will of the American people. Here, where you have 70-80% of the American public desirous of things like common sense background checks, gun safety, or things like the 9/11 Commission, or even, goodness, the rescue plan, which is ending the pandemic and rebooting our economy, that should be able to pass the Senate. Remember, the Senate is already anti-democratic by design. That's the great compromise you'll remember from about fifth grade, where the Senate represents geography. So small states with 700,000 people get the same number of senators as a big state like California with 40 million people. So it's already intensely anti-democratic for the reason that we want to stitch the entire country together. Good. But the filibuster then layers onto that another whole additional anti-democratic procedure where 40 senators from states that may represent tens of millions of fewer people than the 59 senators who might want something, well, they can stop anything. And that is a relic of the Jim Crow system. Let's not forget, this was developed to protect racial discrimination in the South, period, full stop. That's why it exists. I think it's time to let the will of the American people move forward. And if the Republicans win an election, because maybe they come up with a plan or an idea sometime and get off this axle they're wrapped around of conspiracy theories and Donald Trump malignancy and the rest of this nonsense, well then maybe they ought to be able to pass their program as well. And we'll all let the voters decide. How about that? I think that's my answer to Joe Manchin, is that he should stop putting himself in the place of the will of the American people. And right now, he is standing in that doorway, and it's making a lot of people upset.
But Republicans do win elections. They didn't necessarily win the last one. If there was no filibuster, what could Mitch McConnell do if he had that kind of power? What would he have done for the last 4 years?
Well, Stephanie, I guess that doesn't trouble me, because I believe that when Democratic policies are enacted, healthcare reform, and people see how it works, it's popular. When Republican policies are enacted, say they want to lift all restrictions on assault weapons, let everybody own whatever they want, overturn the state bans where assault weapons are banned, I don't think that's going to be popular. I think when they're conservative justices and their agenda is revealed, let's say they end a woman's right to control her own body, end reproductive freedom in America. They would never have had LGBT equality, let's remember, during Pride Month. I don't think their policies fly. I think what they thrive on is opposition and demagoguery, and increasingly deceit, telling lies about the reforms. Think of what we want to do in response to George Floyd's murder. Cops on cameras and in cars. Common sense training, standards, accreditation, ban on chokeholds. Those things are broadly popular with the American people. The Republican Party has no agenda. And so I'm not worried that if it tries to enact its extreme policies, the American people might support that. So, I think the point is we should trust the voters to know what's in their best interest. And these people like the senators who believe that they alone can divine the will of the people or have a more important role to play than tens of millions of Americans who by a majority want us to enact the rescue plan, the jobs plan, the families plan, all the things that we're trying to do to help people. Well, I think they should get out of the way and let the will of the people decide. And if the Republicans can win an election based on ideas, well, God bless them. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Congressman, I know that Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are taking the brunt of the criticism for complicating Democrats' agenda. But is it fair? It is not like Biden has every other Democratic vote locked up. I mean, I've spoken to lawmakers in your own state who have said they're not going to sign on for the infrastructure plan unless we do something about the SALT cap.
Amen. And I think we should repeal those SALT provisions so people know what we're talking about. This would give you back your state and local tax deductions. I think that's very important. And we're not talking about having normal disagreements or compromising. My goodness, the president right now is bending over backwards to try to find a bipartisan solution with some senators in the Republican Party. Good. A lot of us support that. What we're talking about is complete obstructionism. What we're talking about is whether it should require 60 votes to get anything done and to give a stranglehold to people who want to stop all progress. I mean, this is the dead hand of the past reaching into this critical moment in American history and strangling our efforts to move forward on things like civil rights and voting rights and ending the pandemic and getting people their jobs back and raising wages and giving people better, cheaper health care and helping our country build infrastructure and create jobs. And I think the will of the people should be respected here.